Captain Jake Morrison, though everyone called him lucky for reasons that would become painfully obvious, was having what he considered a perfectly ordinary Tuesday. Which, given his track record, meant something was about to go spectacularly wrong. Just a simple cargo run, he muttered to himself, piloting his battered freighter through the void. Pick up some supplies from Station Beta 7, drop them off at Colony Outpost whatever, collect payment, go home. What could possibly go wrong? The universe, apparently, took this as a personal challenge. His ship, the Rusty Bucket, was exactly what it sounded like, a 30-year-old Terran cargo hauler held together by duct tape, stubborn engineering, and what Jake liked to call aggressive optimism. The paint was peeling, the engines wheezed like an asthmatic elephant, and the artificial gravity had a tendency to hiccup at the worst possible moments. But she was his hiccuping, wheezing bucket of bolts, and she'd never let him down. Well, not fatally anyway. Jake was humming off-key to some ancient earth rock song when his proximity alarm started screaming like banshees at a funeral. He nearly spilled his coffee, real coffee, not that synthetic swill, all over his control panel. What the hell? The view screen lit up like a Christmas tree, displaying more ship signatures than Jake had ever seen in one place. And not just any ships, these were full battle fleets. 5 different species, arranged in a tense standoff that made the Cold War look like a polite disagreement over dinner plans. "Oh, come on," Jake groaned, frantically checking his navigation computer. "I'm supposed to be in empty space. This sector was marked as uninhabited wasteland." Apparently, his navigation data was about as reliable as a chocolate teapot. The fleets were impressive, Jake had to admit. Sleek reptilian dreadnoughts bristled with weapons, elegant bird-like vessels swooped in perfect formations, and massive insectoid carriers lumbered through space like flying mountains. Of thousands of ships, representing billions of credits worth of military hardware, all pointed at each other with the kind of murderous intent usually reserved for tax collectors. And there was Jake, puttering through the middle of it all in his garbage scow like a drunk tourist stumbling into a gang war. His comm system crackled to life, filled with alien voices speaking in at least 6 different languages. The universal translator kicked in, though it seemed to be having trouble keeping up with what appeared to be very creative insults. Pathetic scales of a molting. Your mother was a gaseous anomaly. 16 different species of parasitic. Okay, Jake said, flipping on his transmitter. Sorry to interrupt what sounds like a really enthusiastic poetry reading, but I think I took a wrong turn at Albuquerque. If someone could just point me toward the nearest hyperspace lane, I'll get out of your hair. Or scales, or whatever. The alien chatter stopped abruptly, replaced by a silence so profound Jake could hear his coffee maker gurgling in the galley. Then the laughter started. Did it just say Albuquerque? The voice belonged to what Jake's computer identified as Admiral Throcktar of the Reptilian Defense Force. Even through the translator, he sounded like someone gargling gravel mixed with contempt. A human. This voice was musical, almost bell-like, which made the disdain even more cutting. Commander Zephyria of the Avian Stellar Navy. How delightfully primitive. I didn't know they still let humans play with starships. Look at that thing, rumbled General Grimjaw of the Insectoid Hive Fleet. His voice buzzed like a chainsaw having an argument with a blender. It appears to be held together with adhesive strips and wishful thinking. Jake looked around his cockpit, noting the prominent duct tape holding his environmental controls together. Hey now, that's premium Earth-grade adhesive strips, thank you very much. The mockery continued, growing more elaborate by the minute. Apparently, when 5 different alien species wanted to insult someone, they really put their backs into it. The human vessel appears to be leaking something, observed Commander Zephyria with scientific curiosity. Is that intentional? Jake glanced at his diagnostics. That's just the coolant system. She always drips a little when she's nervous. Don't you, girl? He patted his console affectionately, which immediately sparked and went dark for 3 seconds before flickering back to life. "Oh, this is rich," Admiral Throcktar wheezed between what Jake assumed were reptilian chuckles. "The primitive actually talks to its machine. Next, it will be asking us to believe it has artificial intelligence aboard." "Actually, I do," Jake said, flipping a switch. "Murphy, say hello to the nice homicidal aliens." A new voice joined the conversation, flat and utterly pessimistic. "Hello, homicidal aliens. I am Murphy, ship's AI, named after the law that states everything that can go wrong will go wrong. And judging by our current situation, I'd say we're about to provide a stellar example of that principle in action." The alien laughter grew louder. "An AI named after a law of failure. How perfectly human." "I prefer to think of it as honest advertising," Murphy replied. "Unlike my captain's nickname. They call him Lucky Jake, which is like calling the galactic plague the galactic tickle." "Thanks for the support, Murphy," Jake muttered. "Always happy to help lower expectations to manageable levels, Captain." Commander Zephyria's voice took on a tone of condescending patience. "Little human, you seem to have wandered into the middle of a rather important military operation. We are currently determining which of our respective species will claim dominion over this sector." "With violence," added General Grimjaw helpfully. "Lots and lots of violence." "I gathered that from all the weapons pointed at each other," Jake said. "Look, I really don't want to interrupt your, Dominion-determining activities. I'm just trying to deliver some cargo. Standard freight run. Nothing military about it." "Cargo?" Admiral Throcktar's voice sharpened. "What manner of cargo?" Jake checked his manifest. "Let's see, space toilet paper mostly. Some freeze-dried ice cream. Oh, and a couple cases of those little cocktail umbrellas. You know, for drinks." The silence that followed was so complete Jake wondered if his comm system had broken. "Space toilet paper?" Commander Zephyria finally managed. "The really good stuff, too. 3-ply, quilted, with that blue stuff that makes it smell like a mountain breeze. Or so the marketing says. I've never actually smelled a mountain breeze from space." More alien laughter, but now it had an edge to it. The kind of edge that suggested they were done being amused and were moving toward being annoyed. "I don't believe you," Admiral Throcktar declared. "No one sends a single vessel through this sector carrying toilet paper. You're clearly an advanced scout for the human military." "What human military?" Jake asked, genuinely confused. "We've got maybe 12 ships that can actually leave the solar system, and half of those are held together with Hope and jury-rigged gravity generators." "A likely story," General Grimjaw buzzed. "You will remain here while we decide what to do with you." Jake found himself suddenly surrounded by alien escort ships, their weapons very politely but very firmly trained on his hull. He was officially trapped in the middle of the galaxy's most expensive standoff, carrying what was quite possibly the universe's most mundane cargo. "Well, Murphy," he said, settling back in his pilot's seat, "I think our luck just ran out." Jake was trying to figure out his next move when Murphy's voice cut through his thoughts with its usual cheerful pessimism. "Captain, I hate to interrupt your existential crisis, but we may have a slight problem." "Slight problem?" "Murphy, we're surrounded by enough firepower to crack a moon, and they think we're spies. How could this possibly get worse?" "Well, I've been reviewing our cargo manifest against the actual cargo in our hold, and it appears there's been a discrepancy." Jake felt his stomach drop somewhere in the vicinity of his boots. "What kind of discrepancy?" "The kind where instead of space toilet paper, Container 7 Alpha contains something labeled Terran Defense Prototype XJ7, with a warning label that uses the word catastrophic 6 times in the first paragraph." "That's impossible. I loaded that cargo myself." "Well, I supervised the loading." "Well, I was present in the same general area when automated systems handled the loading." "And therein lies the problem," Murphy said with what Jake could swear was artificial satisfaction. According to the station logs I just accessed, there was a computer glitch during loading. Apparently someone was supposed to receive a shipment of bathroom supplies, and someone else was supposed to receive a prototype military device. Here to guess which someone we are. Jake stared at his cargo hold display, where Container 7 Alpha sat innocently among the freeze-dried ice cream and cocktail umbrellas. How big is this prototype? Roughly the size of a coffin, which I find disturbingly appropriate given our circumstances. The alien comm chatter was getting more aggressive. Admiral Throck-Tar was arguing with Commander Zephyria about territorial boundaries, while General Grimjaw was making what sounded like threats involving larval consumption. The universal translator was working overtime. Murphy, can you tell me anything else about this prototype? The technical specifications are classified beyond my access level, but I can tell you it has a large red button labeled emergency activation only and enough warning labels to wallpaper a small moon. The power readings suggest it's some sort of directed energy device. Or it could be the galaxy's most expensive practical joke, Jake said hopefully. Given your luck, Captain, I'd say that's statistically improbable. More likely, we're carrying something that could either save us or vaporize us in a fashion so spectacular they'll name a new type of explosion after you. Jake rubbed his temples, feeling a headache building. Can we jettison it? The container is magnetically sealed to our cargo bay floor and requires a command authorization code we don't have. It's not going anywhere. Can we scan it to see what it actually does? The container is heavily shielded. I can tell you it's warm, it's using a lot of power, and it occasionally makes a humming sound like a contented cat. Beyond that, your guess is as good as mine. The alien voices were getting louder and more heated. Apparently their standoff was reaching a critical point, and Jake's presence had become the final straw. Little human, Admiral Throck-Tar's voice cut through the chatter. We have decided you are too suspicious to live. However, we are civilized beings. We will give you 30 of your Earth minutes to make peace with whatever primitive deities you worship. How generous, Jake muttered. We've also decided to make your destruction into a sporting event, Commander Zephyria added cheerfully. We're taking bets on how many seconds your pathetic vessel will survive our combined firepower. The current favorite is instantly. General Grimjaw buzzed with what might have been amusement. Though some optimists are betting on a full 2 seconds. Jake tried to reach Earth Command on the long-range communicator, but Murphy's diagnostic was not encouraging. We're approximately 47 light-years from the nearest Earth relay station, Captain. Even if we sent a message now, any response would arrive long after we become an expanding cloud of subatomic particles. So our options are surrender and hope they're feeling merciful, or... Captain. Murphy interrupted. I feel obligated to point out that none of these species are known for their mercy. The reptilians consider mercy a form of mental illness, the avians think compassion is a character flaw, and the insectoids literally don't have a word for prisoner in their language. Jake stared at the cargo hold display, where Container 7 Alpha continued to hum contentedly. A crazy idea was forming in his head, the kind of idea that was either brilliantly desperate or desperately stupid. Murphy, you said the container has a big red button? Yes, Captain, and before you ask, no, I cannot predict what will happen if you press it. It could activate a shield generator, a weapon system, a matter transporter, or a device that turns everything within 100 kilometers into strawberry pudding. The technical documentation is refreshingly unhelpful. The alien fleets were powering up their weapons now. Jake could see the energy signatures building on his sensors like storm clouds gathering on the horizon. 20 minutes remaining, human, Admiral Throck-Tar announced. I do hope you're using this time productively. Jake was quiet for a moment, staring at the tactical display showing thousands of alien ships surrounding his lone freighter. Then he started laughing, not the hysterical laughter of someone having a breakdown, but the genuine amusement of someone who'd just realized how ridiculous his situation had become. Murphy, in your professional opinion, how much worse could things possibly get? Jake was suiting up for a trip to the cargo hold when Murphy decided to share some helpful historical context. Captain, while you're preparing to potentially destroy us all, would you like to know how you acquired the nickname Lucky? I'm guessing it wasn't because of my incredible good fortune, Jake grunted, sealing his helmet. Indeed not. If I recall correctly, it started when you won the lottery on your 18th birthday. See? That was lucky. The lottery ticket was a forgery, the winnings were counterfeit, and you were arrested for fraud. The charges were dropped when they discovered you were also a victim, but not before you spent 3 days in jail and missed your acceptance to the Space Academy. Jake paused in his equipment check. Your point being? You then enlisted in the Merchant Marine, where your first assignment was aboard a luxury liner that suffered a catastrophic engine failure, stranding you on a desert planet for 6 months. I survived. By eating cactus fruit and befriending a pack of wild space camels. Your second assignment was aboard a cargo vessel that was impounded for smuggling contraband you didn't know was contraband. I was acquitted. No. After 18 months of legal proceedings that bankrupted you and ruined your credit rating. Your third assignment. Okay, I get the picture, Jake said, heading for the cargo bay. My luck is terrible. But I'm still alive, aren't I? Captain, you have survived 7 ship explosions, 4 alien plagues, 2 divorces, and 1 incident involving a sentient black hole with anger management issues. Your continued existence is either the greatest miracle in galactic history or proof that the universe has a sadistic sense of humor. The cargo bay was dimly lit, with containers stacked in neat rows like metallic coffins. Container 7 Alpha sat in the center, humming its little mechanical song and occasionally pulsing with a soft blue light. Definitely looks ominous, Jake muttered, approaching it carefully. The warning labels were indeed impressive. Jake counted references to extreme danger, authorized personnel only, potential reality distortion, and one particularly concerning notice about localized temporal anomalies. The red button sat under a clear protective cover, large and inviting and absolutely screaming, "Do not press under any circumstances." His comm crackled with Admiral Throcktar's voice. 15 minutes, human. I do hope you're writing some lovely final words. We're composing an epic poem about your impending destruction. How thoughtful, Jake replied, studying the button. Murphy, worst case scenario, what happens if I press this thing? Given your luck, Captain, I'd say the worst case scenario is that it works exactly as intended. Jake could hear the alien fleets moving into position outside, their weapons charging with a sound like distant thunder. He thought about his life, the disasters, the near misses, the string of cosmic jokes that had led him to this moment. Standing alone in a cargo bay, surrounded by aliens who wanted to kill him, staring at a button that could either save him or provide a spectacular finale to his career as the unluckiest man in space. You know what, Murphy? I'm tired of being afraid of my own shadow. Maybe it's time to embrace the chaos. Captain, that's either the most inspiring or the most terrifying thing you've ever said. 10 minutes, human. Commander Zephyria's voice was practically singing with anticipation. The betting pools are quite active. Would you like to know the odds? Jake lifted the protective cover, revealing the button in all its big red, definitely not to be pressed glory. His finger hovered over it, and for a moment he could swear he felt the weight of the universe watching him. Murphy, if this goes wrong, I want you to know you've been a terrible AI, but you're my terrible AI. Captain, if this goes wrong, I want you to know I've already composed your obituary. It's surprisingly complimentary, considering. 5 minutes. General Grimjaw's voice buzzed with excitement. The weapons are fully charged and targeted. This should be quite the light show. Jake took a deep breath, closed his eyes, and thought about every bit of bad luck that had ever come his way. Every missed opportunity, every cosmic joke, every moment when the universe had decided to use him as its personal punching bag. "You know what, universe?" he said aloud, opening his eyes and staring at the button. "I'm done being your straight man. Time to flip the script." The alien voices were counting down now, their excitement building to a crescendo. Jake could feel the targeting systems locking onto his ship, the weapons reaching critical charge levels. 3, 2, 1. Jake pressed the button, and immediately realized he probably should have read the fine print more carefully. The container didn't explode, or activate a shield, or summon help from Earth. Instead, it began to glow with an increasingly bright white light, humming louder and louder until the sound filled the cargo bay and vibrated through the ship's hull. "Captain," Murphy said, his voice unusually tense, "I'm reading massive energy buildup. Whatever this device is, it's about to do something very, very big." "Good big or bad big?" "Given your luck, probably both." The light was becoming blinding now, and Jake could feel the air itself beginning to tingle with energy. Through his comm, he could hear the alien voices changing from excitement to confusion as their sensors registered what was happening aboard his ship. "What is that thing?" Admiral Throck-Tar demanded. It's beautiful," Commander Zephyria whispered. When Jake's vision cleared, the first thing he noticed was the silence. Not the peaceful silence of empty space, but the kind of absolute, profound silence that comes when thousands of starship engines suddenly stop working all at once. "Murphy?" he called out, picking himself up from the cargo bay floor. "Murphy, are you there?" "I'm here, Captain, though I'm experiencing what I can only describe as digital confusion." "Are we dead?" "There." "I don't think so. I think dead people probably don't have headaches." Jake rubbed his temples and made his way back to the bridge, where his view screen was flickering back to life. What he saw made him stop and stare. The massive alien fleets were still there, thousands of ships arranged in their threatening formations. But something was very, very wrong with them. None of them were moving. No engine glows, no navigation lights, no weapons charging. They hung in space like ornaments on the galaxy's most expensive Christmas tree. "Murphy, are you getting any readings from the alien ships?" "That's the interesting part, Captain. Their life support systems are still functional apparently. Whatever happened was very selective about what it targeted. But their engines, weapons, computers, communications, and pretty much everything else that makes a starship more than an expensive coffin are completely non-functional." The comm system crackled to life, filled with panicked alien voices all talking at once. "Engines are completely dead. Weapons systems not responding. What did that human do to us? My navigation computer is displaying a recipe for something called chocolate chip cookies." Jake found himself grinning despite the circumstances. "Murphy, tell me our systems are still working." "All systems green, Captain. Whatever that device was, it appears to have a very specific definition of target." The cacophony of alien voices was growing more frantic by the minute. Admiral Throck-Tar's voice cut through the noise, no longer carrying its previous arrogance. "Human, what have you done? What manner of weapon is this?" Jake settled into his pilot's chair and opened a general comm channel. "Well, Admiral, that's an interesting question. Murphy, what did we just unleash on these fine folks?" "According to the technical data that's now available in the device's memory banks, Captain, we just activated a Terran defense prototype designated Selective Electromagnetic Pulse Generator, Mark 7. It appears to be designed to target non-human technology specifically." "A what now?" "What?" "An EMP device that only affects alien tech, Captain. Remarkably specific, really. It identifies technology based on manufacturing signatures, power frequencies, and what the documentation calls non-Terran engineering paradigms." Commander Zephyria's voice joined the conversation, trembling with what might have been fear or awe. You have rendered our entire combined fleet helpless with a single device? Apparently so, Jake said, still trying to process the situation. Though I have to say, this wasn't exactly my plan. I was honestly hoping for maybe a shield generator or something that would let me run away really fast. The irony is delicious, Captain, Murphy observed. You've just accidentally become the most powerful military force in this sector. General Grimjaw's voice buzzed with barely controlled panic. Our ships are defenseless. Our weapons are useless. We are at your mercy, human. Jake looked around his cramped, duct-taped bridge and started laughing. My mercy? Do you folks have any idea what kind of ship you're talking to? I deliver space toilet paper for a living. Yesterday, my biggest concern was whether the coffee maker would explode again. But you have defeated us, Admiral Throcktar said, his voice hollow with disbelief. 5 of the most powerful fleets in the galaxy, rendered helpless by a single human vessel. I pressed a button, Jake said. I didn't even know what it would do. For all I knew, it could have turned us all into pudding. The alien voices were quieter now, filled with a kind of stunned respect that made Jake deeply uncomfortable. Murphy, how long will their systems be down? According to the device specifications, the effect is permanent, Captain. Their ships are now very expensive zero-gravity habitats. Permanent? Jake's voice cracked slightly. Murphy, I just accidentally crippled thousands of starships. There are probably millions of crew members on those vessels, all of whom were planning to kill us approximately 10 minutes ago, Murphy reminded him helpfully. Commander Zephyria's voice was softer now, almost wondering. In all our histories, in all our wars, we have never seen anything like this. A weapon that disables without destroying, that renders an enemy helpless without taking lives. It's not a weapon, Jake protested. It's a mistake. A really, really big mistake. Captain, Murphy said quietly, I'm receiving surrender requests from all 5 fleet commanders. Jake stared at the tactical display, where thousands of helpless ships waited for his decision. The most powerful military forces in the sector, all bowing to a delivery driver who'd been trying to transport toilet paper and had accidentally stumbled into galactic dominance. Jake spent the next hour doing something he'd never expected to do in his lifetime, negotiating a peace treaty between 5 different alien species while sitting in his underwear and drinking coffee that was definitely past its expiration date. Let me get this straight, he said into his comm. You 5 have been fighting over this sector for how long? 73 years, Admiral Throcktar admitted grudgingly. 73 years. Over what's essentially empty space with some decent asteroid mining opportunities. The mining rights alone are worth billions, Commander Zephyria protested. And how much have you spent on this war so far? There was a long pause. Trillions, General Grimjaw finally buzzed. Jake rubbed his forehead. So you've spent trillions fighting over billions. Murphy, does that make sense to you? Captain, I'm an AI designed to expect the worst possible outcome in any situation, and even I think that's stupid. Right. So here's what we're going to do. Jake leaned back in his chair, trying to project an authority he definitely didn't feel. You're all going to stop shooting at each other. And if we refuse? Admiral Throcktar asked, though his voice lacked its earlier conviction. Jake gestured at his view screen, where thousands of dead ships drifted in formation. With what? You planning to throw rocks at each other? The human has a point, Commander Zephyria said thoughtfully. We are somewhat limited in our military options at present. More than somewhat, Jake said. Look, I don't want to be the Galactic Emperor or whatever. I just want to deliver my cargo and go home. But right now I'm the only one here with a working starship, which apparently makes me the adult in the room. You're proposing mediation? General Grimjaw sounded suspicious. I'm proposing common sense. You split the sector 5 ways, set up a joint mining operation, and share the profits. Everyone wins, nobody gets blown up, and I can go back to my nice, quiet, boring life. There was another long pause as the alien commanders consulted among themselves. The humans' proposal has merit, Commander Zephyria finally said. We have lost too much to this conflict already. Agreed, Admiral Throcktar said reluctantly, though I reserve the right to complain about the terms later. Acceptable, General Grimjaw buzzed. We will need transportation back to our home systems to ratify this agreement. Jake blinked. Transportation? Oh, right. Your ships don't work anymore. He looked around his cargo hold, then at the thousands of stranded aliens. Murphy, how many people can we fit in our passenger compartments? Captain, we don't have passenger compartments. We have a cargo hold, a bridge, your cabin, and a bathroom that's questionable even by your standards. But we could retrofit some of the cargo space to transport several million alien military personnel. Captain, even your luck isn't that good. Jake spent the next several hours coordinating the most unlikely rescue operation in galactic history. It turned out that while the alien ships couldn't move, their short-range shuttles were still functional. Apparently, the EMP device had a very specific range and targeting system. Within a day, Jake found himself at the head of a convoy of alien shuttles, escorting them back to their respective home systems like the world's most improbable shepherd. The alien commanders, their attitudes completely transformed, treated him with a mixture of awe and gratitude that made him deeply uncomfortable. You know, human Jake, Admiral Throcktar said over the comm during one of their stops, you have given us something we never expected to find. A headache? Peace. We have been fighting for so long we had forgotten why we started. When they finally reached the drop-off point for Jake's original cargo, he discovered that his space toilet paper delivery was actually going to a small research station that desperately needed supplies. The staff greeted him like a hero, though they seemed confused by his alien escort fleet. It was only when he was unloading his cargo that Murphy made an interesting discovery. Captain, I've been reviewing our manifest more carefully, and I have some news that might interest you. Good news or bad news? That depends on your perspective. It appears that Container 7 Alpha was not the only item that was misrouted to our ship. Jake stopped in the middle of handing off a case of freeze-dried ice cream. What do you mean? I mean, we currently have 17 other containers marked Terran Defense Prototype in our cargo hold. Jake slowly turned to stare at his ship, where 17 innocent-looking containers sat among the cocktail umbrellas and remaining toilet paper. 17? Everything from gravity distortion field generator to quantum entanglement communication array to something called emergency cake dispenser, military grade. Military grade cake. Apparently the Terran Defense Department takes morale very seriously. Jake looked at the alien shuttle still escorting him, their crews undoubtedly expecting him to continue playing the role of galactic peacekeeper and accidental military genius. Then he looked at his cargo hold, filled with enough prototype technology to reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. Then he looked at his coffee mug, which was empty. Murphy, he said finally, I think we're going to need more coffee. Captain, given what we're carrying, I think we're going to need more than coffee. I recommend updating our insurance policies again, and possibly our wills. Jake Morrison, Lucky Jake, the man who'd accidentally become the most powerful person in the galaxy while trying to deliver toilet paper, poured himself another cup of questionable coffee and settled in for what was shaping up to be a very interesting career change. After all, somebody had to make sure those 17 other buttons didn't get pressed by accident. And given his luck, that somebody was probably going to be him.